So I've mentioned this notion of beloved community. And in fact, my school is called Beloved Community School. So maybe it's a good moment for me to actually share a definition of this concept. The beloved community is one that embraces and creates harmony among all in living together. It was first formulated in 1913 by a Harvard philosophy professor named Josiah Royce. Royce wrote of a place where everyone worked toward the cause of loyalty and truth. The concept of beloved community is most widely associated with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was an admirer of Royce. He expanded upon this philosophy, adding the imperatives of the civil rights era. King asked his followers to strive for a goal of reconciliation, saying, and I'm not going to try to imitate his voice, the end is redemption. The end is the creation of a beloved community. It is this type of spirit and this type of love that can transform opposers into friends. It is this kind of understanding and goodwill that will transform the deep gloom of the old age into the exuberant gladness of the new age. It is this love which will bring about miracles. And upon Dr. King's assassination, the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh took up the mantle, dedicating himself to championing the memory and legacy of his friend. Indeed, speaking of King's death, Hanh wrote, "When I heard the news of Martin's murder, I was devastated. I could not eat, I could not sleep. I made a deep vow to continue building what he called the beloved community, not only for myself, but for him also." For Thich Nhat Hanh, the beloved community extends beyond humans and our consciousness to a connection of all life and all things. Now, if that sounds a little woo woo, I'd ask you to consider the energy that you can feel emanating out of your heart when you're out in nature, if that is something accessible to you. Or perhaps if you have a dog or cat when you're playing with them, or even pertinently when you're with a circle of people who you love and really admire, that sense of flow. It's that sense of your heart and all of your body almost vibrating with love and oneness. It feels like you've collectively arrested time and your hearts are literally melting into each other's. That's what it feels like to start to approach past the friend zone into the sister zone. Be aware, I do not mean to gender this by calling it sisterhood. This can exist across all spectrums of gender identity. So, in sniffing around for some organizing constructs around what does beloved community look like, I happened upon the Religion and Race website, wherein Dr. Arthur A. Wright laid out 25 traits of the beloved community. Some of these are liturgical in nature, such as recognizing God in each human being and supplementing faith with action. But there were 20 that really struck me as reflecting the values that people in equitable circles consider fundamental. Wright, an ordained deacon in the United Methodist Church, lays out these tenets of beloved community, which I will read and also put in the resources. I ask you as you listen to think about which ones really feel important to you and which ones you'd like to start integrating into your practice along your 3 L's: learning, leading, and liberation. First, it offers radical hospitality to everyone. It is an inclusive family rather than an exclusive club. Second, It recognizes and honors the image of the divine in every human being, understanding that everyone has agency and dignity. Third, it exhibits personal authenticity, true respect, and validation of others. Fourth, it is connected to recognition and affirmation, not eradication of difference. Five, it listens emotionally, meaning with the heart, fostering empathy and compassion for others. Six, it tolerates ambiguity, realizing that sometimes a clear cut answer is not readily available. Seven, it builds increasing levels of trust and works to avoid fear of difference and others. You see, these start to reinforce each other, right? Eight, acknowledges limitations, lack of knowledge, or understanding, and seeks to learn. Nine, acknowledges conflict or pain in order to work on difficult issues. 10, speaks truth in love, always considering ways to be compassionate with one another. 11, avoids physical aggression and verbal abuse. 12, resolves conflicts peacefully without violence, recognizing that peacefully doesn't always mean comfortably for everybody. 13, releases resentment and bitterness through self purification, such as the avoidance of internal violence through spiritual, physical, and psychological care and well being. Go back to what we discussed all the way at the beginning around the vectors of privilege and the different forms of violence. 14, it focuses its energy on removing evil forces, such as unjust systems, but not on destroying persons. 15, it demonstrates unyielding persistence and unwavering commitment to justice. 16, it achieves friendship and understanding through negotiation, compromise, or consensus, considering each circumstance to discern which approach will be the most helpful. 17, it righteously opposes and takes direct action against poverty, hunger, and homelessness. It turns values into action, reinforcing what we looked at in the prior chapter. 18, gathers together regularly for table fellowship and meets the needs of everyone in the community. 19, promotes human rights and works to create a non racist society. 20, shares power and acknowledges the inescapable network of mutuality among the human family. And now I'm going to share the five that are a little more related to the workings of an organized church. Number 21, advocates thoroughgoing, extensive neighborhood revitalization without displacement. This also applies to the church, working toward responsible and equitable growth, discipleship, and worship. 22, relies on scripture reading, prayer, and corporate worship for inner strength. 23, blends faith and action to generate a commitment to defeating injustice, not forgetting that injustice can also be found within the church. 24, encourages and embraces artistic expressions of faith from diverse perspectives. And 25, fosters dynamic and active spirituality, recognizing that we serve a dynamic God who is not left behind by a changing world or people, and that a passive approach will not work. So you see how fortunate it was to find this concept as a way of grounding all of the work that I've been trying to do and formulate here in looking at these 10 tactics. I want to pull up some of the ones that I feel are most pertinent to us at this moment in our work together. Embracing ambiguity, yes andness, and the fact that there is not a one size fits all way of being valuable, and that differences are to be celebrated, not eradicated. Also, approaching life, people, and situations with curiosity, trust, compassion, a consensus orientation, and respect. Peace, striving for the higher ground of human rights, peace, nonviolence, love, and compassion, without insisting upon your personal, emotional, or philosophical comfort. Humility, seeking humility, openness to learning and growing, mutuality, and the avoidance of power hoarding. Justice, maintaining an unwavering commitment to justice, removing oneself and all from forces and systems of evil, avidly working on your desire for human rights and an anti racist society. And along with this, taking direct action against poverty, hunger, homelessness, and suffering. And then finally, sisterhood. This is the one that is particularly interesting to my work with Brave Sis Project. Practicing radical hospitality and offering fellowship to as many as possible. And so, reflecting back on everything we've discussed in this course, what does your beloved community look like? Who's there? How do you live and communicate with and help each other? What's important to you and what's not? And importantly, what steps can you take now and aspire to take over time in order to achieve it?